Some mysteries are just so baffling, they seem to completely defy logic. And today, we're diving into one of the most haunting cold cases of the digital age, the truly impossible vanishing of Maura Murray.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's February 9th, 2004. Imagine a dark, winding road deep in rural New Hampshire. It's cold, it's lonely.
Out of nowhere, a black Saturn sedan skids and slams into a snowbank. A local bus driver happens to be passing by, so he stops, checks on the young woman behind the wheel. He asks if she needs help. She says no, she's okay. But get this. Just 19 minutes later, when the first police officer arrives on the scene, the car is empty. The driver has just vanished. Poof, gone. Into the cold night air, without leaving a single footprint behind. So let's really dig into this. Section 1, a vanishing on Route 112. To have any chance of understanding this thing, we have to start right there, at that crash site. Because everything hinges on what happened in that tiny, tiny window of time on Route 112. The timeline here is it's mind-bogglingly tight. Okay, so at 7:27 p.m., the crash happens. Just a few minutes after that, the bus driver, Butch Atwood, he stops, talks to Maura. She refuses help. He gets a little concerned, so he drives the short way home and calls 911 at 7:42. And by 7:46 p.m., just 4 minutes later, an officer is there. So let that sink in. We're talking about a window of, maybe 15 minutes tops? And in that slice of time, Maura Murray is gone. Completely. But here's the thing. The mystery doesn't just start with the crash. Not at all. To get the full picture, you have to rewind. Let's look at the days leading up to that night. Because what you find is a portrait of a young student who was clearly under an incredible amount of pressure. So who exactly was Maura Murray? Well, by all accounts, she was a bright, athletic 21-year-old. She was a really promising nursing student at UMass Amherst. And, from the outside looking in, it seemed like she had everything going for her. But beneath that surface, cracks were definitely starting to show. She was juggling the insane stress of a tough nursing program. She was in a complicated long-distance relationship. And then there was this really uncharacteristic brush with the law, a shoplifting incident. And it gets more intense. Just days before she disappeared, two really big things happened. She had a sort of mysterious emotional breakdown at her campus security job, and right after that, she crashed her dad's brand new car. And all of that brings us to February 9th, the day she vanished. And her actions that day, they're just plain strange. First off, she emails her professors and her boss, and she lies. She says there's been a death in the family. Then she starts packing up her dorm room. We're talking clothes, textbooks, even maps. She goes to an ATM and pulls out $280, which was pretty much everything in her account. She stops at a liquor store and buys a weird mix of alcohol, Kahlua, vodka, and a box of wine. And then she just gets in her car and starts driving north with no clear destination. Okay, so her personal life adds this whole layer of mystery, right? But the crash scene itself, that presents a completely different set of riddles. It's the physical evidence, and really the lack of evidence, that makes this case so hard to crack. So when the officer gets there, he finds her car locked, and inside is pretty much everything she'd packed. Her bags, her school books, that stuffed animal she loved, even all that alcohol she just bought, totally unopened. The only things missing were her keys, her wallet, and her cell phone. But the crucial part, there were zero signs of any kind of struggle. And this might be the single most haunting question in this whole thing. It had snowed recently. The ground was covered in fresh snow. So where were the footprints? There were no tracks leading away from the car. Not into the woods, not down the road, nothing. Now, this brings us to a really central clue. The search dogs. They were brought in and they actually did pick up her scent right away. They followed it for about 100 yards down the road from her car. But then it just stopped. It just ended cold, right in the middle of the pavement. The implication there is just massive. It's like she just lifted up into the air. Or, more likely, she got into another vehicle. And as if that's not weird enough, there's this one bizarre detail. Investigators found a rag stuffed into the car's tailpipe. Now, this wasn't just some random thing. It was actually a trick her dad, Fred, had taught her. He told her to do that if the engine started smoking, to kind of hide the problem. So, was she really having car trouble, or was this whole thing staged to look like she was? So what are we left with? With all these conflicting clues and just plain strange circumstances, everything has pretty much boiled down to three main theories. Let's break them down. What happened to Maura Murray? Let's look at the evidence for and against each one.
Okay, so let's look at the big three. Theory number one, she succumbed to the elements. The idea is, maybe she'd been drinking, she crashed, panicked about a DUI, and ran into the woods, but then got lost and disoriented. The huge problem with that, massive, repeated searches of those woods have turned up absolutely nothing. Not a shred of clothing, nothing. Okay, theory two, a voluntary disappearance. This one makes some sense, right? She lied to her professors, she packed her car, she took out all her cash. It really looks like someone planning to start a new life. But why stage a crash to do it? And seriously, how has she stayed completely hidden for over 20 years? And that brings us to theory three, foul play. That scent trail stopping dead in the middle of the road is the number one piece of evidence for this. Did some predator just happen to be driving by, stop, and offer her a ride? It's possible. But then again, why was the car locked? And where's the evidence of a struggle? See, every theory has a major hole in it. While the official investigation pretty much went cold, Maura's case took on this incredible second life online. It really became one of the first great internet mysteries. It absolutely exploded, spawning endless forums, podcasts, documentaries, basically creating whole armies of online sleuths who are still trying to piece this puzzle together today. And yet, despite all of that energy, all that online chatter, all the searching, all the speculation, the results is exactly the same. We're now talking more than 20 years. 20 years have gone by, and Maura's family is still stuck in this nightmare without a single real answer. So it all comes back to this one fundamental question. When you put all the pieces on the table, the stressed out student, the weird preparations, that bizarre crash scene, and that scent trail that just goes nowhere, what do you see? A tragic accident in the woods? A desperate planned escape from her own life? Or a young woman who fell victim to a predator on a dark road? The mystery of Maura Murray is so enduring because, honestly, each answer seems just as possible and just as impossible as the last.